bring this test scores in West Bend too, because I'd like to see that, what the trend has been in the last 20 years. Or
I personally can't do that. We'll see what we can do. I don't want anybody to.
Online.
Online at the state.
Yeah, we actually talked. You talked about it in the school board meeting, and I remember thinking, wow, our test scores have gone down a bit here. I remember thinking that like a month ago.
You can very easily go to the public website and look up the videos in which they discuss the test scores and such. I don't know how.
I'm confused. Why are we talking natural lighting and test scores? I mean, I don't quite understand.
Well, because
I
he
thought
was
that's what
saying
we're
that
talking
the natural light gives it a better learning
Environment. I
Yes.
understand that.
I hope nobody heard me say, and I'm guessing somebody will go back and make sure I didn't say, that there is a direct correlation between natural light and your students doing better. There's way too many factors we all know that go into a student learning. Again, if we're going to go down the path of making an investment, I think we will want to talk about a group, the benefits of providing natural light to as many spaces as possible. That's the only goal here. And as I said from the outset, I'm not suggesting that we, as in West Bend, do any of this. There's things I think that we're seeing as trends that we think you should be aware of as we're making decisions related to facilities. Yeah.
As far as the windows and energy consumption, is there far better technology today than in the 70s?
Absolutely.
That's
why-
Absolutely. Yep.
Argon filled windows.
That's why we can have windows again.
Exactly.
Yes,
And kids are learning in the colder climates, colder months of the year most of the time, and so actually getting that heat is a good thing. It can help you on the energy bill side of things. Another example, I'll move along. We're going to never get close to our agenda. Something little. Those little circles cost almost nothing to cut into the drywall, and they have a little timer that they have to run now because so many kids want access to that unique little space. Little things like that to make a fun learning environment for students. This is fascinating. This is an elementary school where kids have a green screen and they learn how to record the morning messages, they edit the morning messages, and then they play them back. What a great way to integrate something that had to happen during the school day anyway with a teaching. This was part of a library space. Library's just down the hall here. And again, just a great way to integrate technology into a day-to-day activity at the elementary level. Daylighting, I'm going to breeze through this because we spend plenty of time talking about it. Natural light is natural light. I'm not going to editorialize on what it is or what it does, or we'll let the studies do that. Really, it's just the difference in that classroom with those windows versus without, and we can never build it both ways to take the same picture twice, but I think we can kind of get a sense of how different this space would feel if it didn't have windows and natural light.
Can you go back to that space
Sure.
that you just looked at? Look at that classroom compared to the classrooms at Jackson. Those teachers at Jackson are trying to do the same things that are being done in this classroom, but it's in a facility that's the size that you need to do that student-centered activities.
Good point.
And when you look at that, and I'm just going to tell you, the reason student achievement goes up is because attendance improves, kids are healthier, they attend class more often in those kinds of environments. And I'm going to tell you guys, that's fact, that's research.
Outdoor learning is another thing. This is at a much bigger scale than we would ever propose, but consider your courtyard if it was constructed in a manner to support learning. This has power, it's got Wi-Fi to it, it's got lighting. This is just a beautiful landscape to take advantage of. This was not, again, a huge expense. It's literally wood and gravel.
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, it's Glacier Creek in Cross Plains, so west of Madison. It's become the hub of the community. And this is a small community with it's similar Middleton, Cross Plains. So Middleton's the big city. Cross Plains is the small rural middle school that didn't always get everything that they thought they deserved. This has become the heart of the community. The local, they run a Tuesday night movie in the summer. It's just become a cool spot. And again, investment, yes, but minimal by comparison. And it's played a huge dividend to getting people to the school. Outdoor space. Secure for students. This is connecting, so this is the building in East Troy connecting a primary center and an intermediate school. Weight and fitness centers, this is, again, an example of a community accessible weight and fitness center in a smaller community, teaching lifelong fitness, starting at a much earlier age. Typically, these were high schools, trending down towards middle schools.
Is that Fond du Lac?
This is Sun Prairie here. This is Sheboygan North, South. And then we also want to provide you a little bit on some local schools, because a lot of your neighbors have been going through a similar process to what you've been going through, just to give a flavor for what's been going on. So as I said, Kewaskum went through a similar process. They're in the process of constructing a middle school, remodeling the high school. So this image should look familiar as the learning stair that we talked about earlier. A library again, intentionally on the second floor at the top of that learning stair, capturing the great views and space they have looking north from their campus off to the river and the rolling hills in the distance. And I'm told that actually is the view they're going to have. Apparently our renderers can figure all that crazy stuff out. Oh, kid. Sorry, trying to keep moving here. I don't think it's you. It shouldn't be.
Just turned sideways and could you run through my head?
Cafeteria space, natural light spilling in. This is going to be a really active space for Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, clubs to meet,
Is this
all
going to
those
be a middle
things.
school?
Yeah, this is a middle school. Yep. Slinger, obviously a neighbor to the west. They passed a 2-question referendum to build an auditorium. So they're going to have a new 750-seat auditorium on the high school. If you've seen it, it's on the south end. It's under construction right now. STEM, tech ed space, this is all remodeling, really. We didn't add any square footage other than the auditorium piece at the high school. So in their case, it was more about remodeling spaces that weren't serving the way they needed them to from a curricular perspective than it was adding space.
This is Kewaskum as well?
This is Slinger now. Yep.
So Slinger was mainly remodeling other than the auditorium?
Yes, Allenton received an addition of a gym and a community room. That was different focus in Allenton. Addison received 4 classrooms. Don't quote me on the number, but they received a few classrooms at Addison. A new gym floor in Slinger Elementary School, and then the majority of the new construction. There's a band choir room, but then the auditorium, but the majority of that work is remodeling within the existing high school. Their band common, so the band and choir rooms and the auditorium are near here with a skylight capping that space, which was enclosed. Port Washington, this is a community that had no existing debt, so they were in anything that they went to their community and asked for had a significant tax impact. It's a community that hadn't ever been through a referendum before, so that created a lot of challenges, and you can see a $1.89 mill rate, or $189 per $100,000 of home value. That's a lot. That's a really steep tax impact. But it came to light that anybody that had been to their high school before, it literally hadn't been touched. There were sections that were 60 and 70 and 80 years old and hadn't been touched. And so this is a former wrestling room and Project Lead the Way space that was remodeled and connected to turn into a new library. This is open now. This is going to be the new entry sequence, which is currently under construction. New gymnasium. Secure entry at one of their elementary schools at Dunwoody. So we want to show not only just kind of regional things we're seeing, but just give you a flavor for what some of your local school districts are doing. And honestly, these are only the ones we're working with. Germantown's making a huge investment. Menominee Falls, I believe, is making a significant investment. So I say that not to suggest that it means something should be done. That isn't the intention. The goal is to just help you understand that this is a common practice. Many districts, many communities are going through this similar process. Fond du Lac is in the study phase. Oshkosh is in the study phase. So everybody in this general region has done or is considering some work, and it's mainly driven by the age of facilities, and it's driven by, as we talked about a little earlier, the fact that many districts have not been able to commit operating dollars since levy limits were put in place.